So I teach a second year core module called Prisons, Probation and Punishment, and the module covers a range of areas, and one of the important aspects that we talk about on the module is the way that we sentence offenders and the punishments that we give to them. So we talk about how we sentence, more importantly why we sentence in a particular way. Within the module I use rugby union as one of the key examples for illustrating the points around how and why we would sentence somebody for transgressing the law. Partly that's because I'm a big rugby union fan, but also it's because there's a lot of examples that you can draw upon in rugby that illustrate the points around how and why we punish people very effectively. So within the sport of rugby union, a lot of the time you find that there's some quite violent activity that takes part within the ordinary play of the game. So in years gone by, people would refer to going into a ruck situation and giving somebody a bit of a shoeing because they were breaking the rules by being offside. There are other aspects of violence in the sport of rugby that are a little bit darker than that. So you have individuals perhaps throwing a punch, perhaps attacking another player off the ball, so it's not part of the game. So I find that rugby is a really useful way of exploring punishment and sentencing guidelines in a way that students can understand, because it's a little bit more real life and it tends to be an example that students can relate to. And so the types of concepts and theories that we talk about in punishment, for example, just deserts and retribution, have more of a concrete nature for the students. They tend to understand it a little bit more clearly because you can see a real life example on the screen during the lecture. It's also a really useful way of introducing students to the idea of sentencing guidelines. So we don't necessarily have fixed punishments in all cases. Courts are able to determine the length of a sentence and the severity of a sentence for individual cases based on a whole range of personal and social contextual factors. So by using the example of rugby union and the violent incident that took place on the pitch, we can explore some of those personal and social factors in order to introduce students to the idea of sentencing guidelines and the fact that a sentence can change even when the same crime has taken place, depending on the person who was the offender, the person who was the victim, and the social context within which that crime took place.